Good evening and thanks for joining us on this weekender edition of High Prime on HiTv with me, Gerard Yambe, bringing to you the top stories. Citizens of Buea briefed the odds to buy foodstuff in the market amidst the lockdown paralyzing activities in the two English-speaking regions of the country. While the population of Buea continue to blame municipal authorities as well as authorities of the Hygiene and Sanitation Company for keeping the city dirty, Hisakam says its deposition site is full to capacity and there are no caterpillars to dispose of the garbage. Cameroonian youth say engaging in self-reliant activities is more beneficial than seeking employment from the government. They made this assertion in the build-up of celebration marking the 53rd National Youth Day in the country. Those were our top stories. Development of those stories and more right now. Let's kickstart this edition of High Prime with this developing story. This Friday, just like the previous days of this week, the towns and cities in the two English-speaking regions of the country continue to witness a lockdown as socio-economic activities remain short. Business premises and circulations remain perturbed as residents stayed at home while the defense and security forces patrolled the streets. Meanwhile, public offices in Buea, Bamenda, Limbe, Kambe, Kumba, Mafia, and other towns of the two English-speaking regions are closed amidst calls from the regional authorities for all state offices and functionaries to be open on ghost town days. Like we did indicated in our headlines, denizens of Buea braved the odds to buy foodstuffs in the market amidst the lockdown paralyzing activities in the two English-speaking regions of the country. This Friday, the Great Support Market was half full. Yannick Funky tells us more in the upcoming reports.
These are men and women trekking to and fro the market to get some foodstuff amidst the lockdown imposed since Tuesday.
We have been indoors for 3 days now, and we happened to hear that the place was open today. So we saw people rushing around the quartier to the market. So I had to rush too because food is almost finishing in my house. So I'm from the market to see if I can get something that I and the family can manage for these days until when we will know that, or until when we're going to see that the place is now open, that we can go out freely.
Well, we come up with the store, we have ghost town. First and foremost, we will not be fair no see the ghost town was serious, so we will not buy things against the ghost town. So we thank God for the market where they make that, so they don't really help us in the ghost. You don't have your choice.
On a day void of the circulation of commercial vehicles, even one or two are being regarded as the most valuable entities.
The crowds that you see right behind me are a group of people. This is the population of Buea that has braved the odds and come to the market to get something for themselves. It's been 4 days of lockdown. Everywhere was closed. No food, no water. People have just been in their houses. But today, Friday, the people have said they will brave all the odds. They will defy all odds to get to the market and buy something for themselves. It's a very expensive market today. Things are very, very expensive. But the people are bent on getting something, even if it's small. But for that reason, that they get something for themselves to feed, they will just get it. It's been a day without any vehicle. These people you find here must have trekked from very far, but they say they would get to the market and get something for themselves.
These were for trekking. Trekking as in trekking, but they know they waka na waka. You waka na from Moliko to here. Waka na food. Yes. Waka na food. We come out from Miami, I stay na Campaign Street. Yes, I waka na food.
The market is jam-packed. People running helter-skelter to get some foodstuff as the lockdown shows its ugly side on them. While the belligerents of the Anglophone crisis continue romancing the bullet and political propagandism become the order of the day, it is these people who feel the bunch of effects. The collateral damage of the Anglophone crisis has always fallen on innocent civilians who are either being killed, maimed, or arbitrarily arrested. This is another example of civilians facing the downturn of a crisis they did not call. Whatever be the case, everyone alludes to the fact that ceasefire can make a difference.
TV's political desk editor Yannick Funky ending that report. In Limbe, the lockdown took an ugly twist Thursday, February 7, 2019, as news of the presence of the Ambazonian Defense fighters sent the town to an unprecedented shutdown. A Limbe-based reporter, Honore Kuma, says though the burning of a vehicle in Mai 2 caused commotion in the city, calm has however returned to the city. Honore Kuma.
The town of Limbe, which has been considered as a safe haven in the heat of the Anglophone crisis, has finally come under attack by the so-called secessionist fighters. The news came in this morning at about 9:15 a.m. like wildfire when some bike riders circulated the information that armed men have invaded Limbe. These caused commotion and trembling as inhabitants ran helter-skelter to close the doors of their offices and shops. The situation was worsened in Limbe 2 subdivision as today was the routine market day for Isokolo market. Traders, Bayam Selam, and people who came to buy foodstuffs all ran for their dear lives. Reports also have it that a taxi was burnt in the early hours of the day on top of the Mile 2 bridge by unidentified gunmen. Similar reports also have it that there was an exchange of fire this same morning around the center town of Limbe. The situation was later contained by the military as they brought back serenity in the town. By press time, mass arrest was ongoing, with bike riders being arrested alongside their bikes for allegedly inciting public disorder and for creating panic amongst denizens. Individuals who were poorly dressed were also arrested, interrogated, and were only released after presentation of their national identity card. The main streets of Limbe remain as quiet as a graveyard, with only few private cars and military vehicles parading the streets.
Remain within the ranks and files of the ongoing socio-political crisis rocking the 2 English-speaking regions of the country. The government of Cameroon has been called upon to release all those arrested as a result of the Anglophone crisis and initiate immediate dialogue before things finally fall apart. The call was made by Professor George Eno Orok, director of the Buea Regional Hospital. In an exclusive interview with HiTv, the director says the spree of killings can be stopped if all warring factions bury their hatchets and engage in dialogue. Let's listen to him.
There had been misunderstanding. Opportunities and chances to solve this problem have been missed. And people have been radicalized. People have lost their lives. They've lost property. Government has lost soldiers. Civilians have died. Fighters have died. All of these people are Cameroonians. In the end, there is going to be a round the table. It may be now, it may be in 2 years, it may be in 10 years, it may be in 50 years. This problem would only be solved round a table. So if we are going to end up round the table, why not make it lofty, smart, soft, and good for everybody by sparing lives now and sitting round that table now? Government has a duty to preserve the unity of the state, the integrity of the state, the safety of people and property. But who really is government? It's the people who make a government. If the people who are governed by a government say that we want to sit and re-examine this, the government is obliged to listen. I think that it is the inability for people to face reality. A government is not seen as weak if you give a listening ear to what your citizens, we're all Cameroonians, we'll be Cameroonians, we'll die Cameroonians. there's no weakness in giving a listening ear. That's what I think. Without being an expert in the domain, I think that there should be de-escalation on both sides. De-escalation on the part of the state, I would not say totally demilitarize, but please reduce the military presence. If we are going to sit round the table, leaders who have been incarcerated and whose incarceration escalated the violence and radicalized and recruited more, they should be released. I am telling you that if by 6 p.m. the head of state grants amnesty to these released people, before 1 week, things would get at least 30 to 40% solved.
You were listening there to the director of the Buea Regional Hospital, Professor George Orok Eno, calling on the warring factions as far as the ongoing socio-political crisis is concerned to bury their hatchet and embrace meaningful and inclusive dialogue. While the population of Buea continue to blame municipal authorities as well as authorities of the hygiene and sanitation company for keeping the city dirty, HiSACAM says the opposition side is full to capacity and there are no caterpillars to dispose of the garbage. Alice Likia tells us more in the upcoming investigative report.
These are heaps of dirt imposing themselves at the strategic positions of Buea. They have been present here since mid-January, begging for someone to transport them to their permanent sites.
The company in charge of cleanliness, HiSACAM, has not been coming for some weeks now, and the dirt was actually disturbing, it was smelling, and there are a lot of flies around.
2 weeks now, HiSACAM is street market, market.
From the streets, quarters, markets, the story is the same. Buea has become dirty once again. The population say the garbage disposal company HiSACAM has disappeared in the thin air, leaving them to make alternative choices.
So we got up this morning since we saw people around, and we decided to put fire on it. So the neighbors, I think the neighbor person actually shaken the activity. And
no, anybody strip their own place now. Go trap for what you don't say the whole world na this. Yes, that's all.
Though no one from the Buea Council nor the HiSACAM company was present to speak on camera, an informant worker from the garbage disposal company narrated for us what could possibly be the cause.
Because caterpillar no dey for push this thing, and it remains and then if you go inside again. If you go now for down HiSACAM self, say you didn't tell about, you will see about good plenty.
Why the HiSACAM and the Buea Council continue to play the ping-pong game? It is the population that battles with flies, mosquitoes, and other parasites that have made the heap of garbage their exquisite results.
Domestic household waste has always been a source of health hazard to communities. First, it attracts flies, and the flies don't end there. The flies have access to exposed stool, which is quite common in our environment. We have latrines that are not covered. We have people defecating in the open air. And so the increase in the number of flies, in which eventually would have to have access to foodstuffs, to fruits, to exposed edible items. These will give rise to gastrointestinal diseases like cholera, gastroenteritis, typhoid enteritis, and the rest of it.
If something is not done and on time, then a possible epidemic could just breathe out in this city of excellence. A stitch in time, they say, saves 9.
Something therefore needs to be done and on time. Let's now open our Youth Day celebration package. Cameroonian youth says engaging in self-reliant activity is more beneficial than seeking employment from the government. They made the assertion in the build-up of celebration marking the 53rd National Day celebration built for this Monday, February 11th. Joyce Bong captured their views and compiled them in the following report.
Youths in Cameroon are still grasping with the cliché that they are leaders of tomorrow. There is no gainsaying that the nation's enviable positions are held by the aging, while the youth grapple with crumbs serving as area boys and boys for their elders. However, a handful of youths have carved niches for themselves and become masters of their own fiefs.
Youth should be self-reliant, because that is the only solution. You know, we are living in, we are being governed by a set of geriatric leaders who actually have put us into this. And please, we should actually take care of ourselves. Let us not think about what this government or this country can do for us. The youth should be self-reliant. If you're going to school, and also the fact that education should be professionalized, so that when they leave the school, they should be able to create their jobs. You know, we have a, as the Frenchman say, masquerade, a way of actually telling people do this, whereas concretely there is nothing the youth can do. So I think if every youth take upon himself to change the first thing is the mentality. We start by changing our mentality, then we start by understanding that this country, this government they cannot do anything for us.
Many believe the youth of Cameroon can make themselves relevant in this nation if they engage in self-reliant activities rather than depending on the government.
Even when we go to school, it's not sufficient. So youth should be able to develop relevant skills. And how do they develop relevant skills? It's by looking at the needs and the demands of the society today, especially IT skills, soft skills, that they will be able to navigate in the internet and be able to get information that will help them to be able to trace that which is going to give them income. Many young people don't know this. It's because they focus their mind a lot on the government. So I wish that the youth should be able to come out from this spirit of thinking that the government will do it for them. They must be self-reliant. They must become self-employed, because youth don't have capital to start normal businesses that require a lot of capital. We have small capital businesses that are online, digital businesses. These businesses are not expensive. You just need to get the skill, and the skill also you can get it online for free. And you will start from somewhere. Within 1, 2, 3 years, you're already a big man and you already have a family as a young person. So to be relevant, you need skills. And most of these skills today are soft skills that you can get freely online.
As youths go out to commemorate the 53rd edition of the National Youth Day this Monday, February 11th, opinion holders believe it is about time the youth made themselves relevant in the society by conjuncturing new avenues for themselves. It is only going to be in that regard that youth can actually situate their true positions in this nation.
In a related development, Cameroonians of all walks of life shall take a pause this Monday, February 11th, to reflect on the plight of the youths in the 53rd National Youth Day. The celebration that shall take place across the National Triangle will give an opportunity for the youths to reflect on their position in the governing structures. Our reporter Jeffrey Abane went down the streets finding out if the youths are truly the leaders of tomorrow. Abane?
Youths of all walks of life will this Monday, February 11, once again demonstrate their relevance in the socio-economic and political sphere of the nation during the celebrations marking the 53rd edition of the National Youth Day. Many are those who have demonstrated maximum prominence in the fields of technology, arts and crafts, international outreach and politics. They will all commune under one umbrella to march past the nation, reflect and jubilate on their position in the society. However, the cliché that youth are the leaders of tomorrow continues to puzzle many who wonder why the youths are almost entirely left out of the front row positioning system of the nation.
I don't think the government have any plan for the youth, because if they do, they would have done something long ago.
We have been hoping for long and things are not changing. So for me, I'm a nurse in profession, and I've been working in General Hospital Buea for 4 years as a voluntary worker. But I have my own small business that I'm trying to help myself, that I do my self-employment to have something to feed myself. I don't depend on the government. Whether the situation want to change or not, I just want to advise the youth that they should try to do something on their own, not to depend on the government. There are other things that they can do, even to sell their groundnut, do even their farming. There are so many petty trade that they can do to help themselves. They should not depend on.
At least everyone have to be so calm, and then you see things will be moving, stores will be opening, vehicles will be going. But now, sometimes during let's just say Sunday, we don't have any taxi. What if it happens at 11 February? There are no taxi. What is to transport the students from their destination to the class quarter? Okay.
Many don't believe in the statement, some indicting the old and weary for giving the youth second fiddle positions in the country.
To keep on waiting because we have been waiting for long. But since they ask us to keep on waiting, we just have to keep on waiting. We have no choice. We have to engage ourselves, our own small activities, carry out our own business. Like this is my own shop. I'm working here under someone. I'm managing this place. We are struggling that the place should grow. So we are still hoping.
I don't know if it is helping the youth, but for me, it is not helping me in any way.
I don't really depend on the government. I depend on my own business. I depend on myself. Yeah, but it's just that the little courage we have that the government can help us is that they should try to see how we bring peace. Because without peace, your business cannot flow. Yeah, so we just need peace. Let peace reign.
Whatever be the case, many youth still believe things can change and it's only a matter of time. Youth, greater opportunities and participation in the building of a peaceful, stable and emergent Cameroon being the theme chosen for this year's edition of the celebration will surely reignite the youth to situate themselves in the governance structure of the nation.
You are watching the Weekender edition of High Prime on HiTv. We are broadcasting live from Buea, Cameroon. Fleets of unidentified corpses are presently congesting the Buea Regional Hospital mortuary. At least 15 corpses brought in by the military and people of goodwill are deposited in the mortuary with no traces of anyone to identify. The hospital authorities are decrying the rate of unidentifying corpses entering the mortuary, saying the cost of keeping the remains there weighs on the hospital. HiTv's Yannick Funky had an exclusive chat with the director of that hospital, Professor George Orok, and put together the following report.
Lying parked in this mortuary are more than 15 unidentified corpses brought in by non-relatives.
At present, we have 15 corpses that qualify as abandoned. Presently, we had a meeting with the governor, and he gave firm instructions that the law should take its course. And so he instructed us, and we have written officially to the municipal authorities. So we are waiting on the municipal authorities, who are those legally authorized to massively dispose of these bodies.
The director of the Buea Regional Hospital told HiTv that the hospital's normal operations have been perturbed due to the outpour of these corpses that can neither be identified nor the cost of keeping them in the mortuary be paid for.
It's costing us a lot. It's costing us a lot having to preserve corpses, anonymous. The corpses occupy space in the mortuary, And most often when people come and they tell them the mortuary is full, they don't understand. These are all the challenges that we have. We once more take advantage of this to call on the public to pass around the mortuary to see if they can identify any of these corpses.
From every indication, these unidentified corpses are remains of people killed in the spill-off of the Anglophone crisis.
The abandoned corpses were not all brought in dead. They were not all dead on arrival.
Okay.
1 or 2 cases were brought to the hospital, and within 1-2 days they eventually die, and nobody shows up. And we can't throw the corpse out of our gates. We have to put it in a mortuary, hoping that somebody will come on. Those are all sources of these abandoned corpses.
The director says the military and people of goodwill dropped the bodies in this hospital.
Most of these corpses are brought in either by forces of law and order or by sympathizers at the roadside who pick corpses from the roadside. And we have no choice but to receive these corpses, preserve them, and keep them hoping that somebody, someday, somehow, will show up. But that has been exhausted.
There is no gainsaying that the deepening crisis rocking the 2 English-speaking regions have left many collateral damages, but the number of young men, women and children passing on is becoming alarming. If something is not done and on time, then many will continue to perish in what have been described as a senseless war.
Whatever happens, there is going to be a round the table. It may be now, it may be in 2 years, it may be in 10 years, it may be in 50 years. There is this problem would only be solved round a table. So if we are going to end up round the table, why not make it lofty, smart, soft, and good for everybody by sparing lives now and sitting round that table now?
And for those who have been searching for their relatives and still at the moment cannot find them, may just make a stop at the Buea mortuary, for no one knows they could just be there.
High Prime navigates continental. Time good enough, we bring to you our continental roundup, courtesy Africa News.
More than 27,000 people have lost their lives since the 2009 Boko Haram uprising in northeastern Nigeria. In Maiduguri, locals desperately want stability to return. Presidential candidates for the February 16 polls are campaigning on this issue in this part of the country. At a rally on Wednesday, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar promised a return to peace.
I will restore peace in the northeast, and we will restore full peace in Nigeria. And all those who know me know that I do not take things for granted, and that I am not afraid.
The former vice president also promised return of the displaced to their homes.
I promise you that everyone will be able to return to their locality. We will create employment opportunities for them. Our schools will be reopened, and we will provide good infrastructure for hospitals.
1.8 million people can still not return home due to Boko Haram's activities in northeastern Nigeria.
Rape and sexual assaults have increased to a point where it is being considered a nationwide cause for concern. Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio declared the prevalence of rape and sexual assault a national emergency on Thursday after months of campaigning by activists.
On this note, ladies and gentlemen, I therefore declare rape and sexual violence as national emergency. With this declaration, I've also directed the following: that all government hospitals must provide free medical treatment and certificates for every rape victim and sexual abuse.
According to police statistics, reported cases of sexual and gender-based violence nearly doubled last year to over 8,500, a third of which involves minors.
Each month, hundreds of cases of rape and sexual assaults are being reported in this country. These despicable crimes of sexual violence are being committed against our own women, children, and even babies. Some of the fatalities are as young as 3 months old. 70% of the survivors of this traumatic experience are under the age 15.
Henceforth, these crimes are punishable by life imprisonment. In December, First Lady Fatima Buea led a demonstration in the capital to raise awareness of this issue and has since launched her Hands Off Our Girls campaign to increase awareness of violence against girls across West Africa.
The Central African Republic is about to set up a Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission. This is part of the agreement signed on Wednesday in Bangui by the actors in the political and security crisis that the country has been going through for the past 6 years. The Khartoum discussions between the Central African State and 14 armed groups resulted in the resolution to establish a Truth, Justice, Reparation and Reconciliation Commission. The commission must be set up within 90 days. Its role will be to qualify and propose any action that may be taken in the field of justice. However, no amnesty is provided for the leaders of armed groups, although they made a major demand for it during the discussions that preceded the signing of the peace agreement. The President of the Central African Republic retains a discretionary right of pardon, a power he can use to support the dynamics of reconciliation without further delay. Swiss prosecutors on Thursday announced they have closed a money laundering inquiry into a son of the President of Equatorial Guinea with an arrangement to sell 25 confiscated luxury cars. The probe, opened in October 2016, also concerned misappropriation of public assets by Theodorin Obiang. He was accused along with 2 others whose names were not given. The 25 vehicles will be sold and the proceeds handed over to a social program on the territory of Equatorial Guinea, the statement said. The Ebony Shine, a yacht confiscated in the Netherlands following a request for judicial cooperation, has been released. The government of Equatorial Guinea has agreed to pay the Geneva State $1.3 million to cover the cost of the investigation.
That continental roundup brings us to the end of this weekender edition of High Prime. But before we leave you, we'll remind you of our top stories. Denizens of Buea braved the odds to buy foodstuffs in the market amidst the lockdown paralyzing activities in the 2 English-speaking regions of the country. While the population of Buea continue to blame municipal authorities as well as authorities of the Hygiene and Sanitation Company for keeping the city dirty, Hisakam says its deposition site is full to capacity and there are no caterpillars to dispose of the garbage. We call it story of Cameroonian youths who say they prefer engaging in self-reliant activities than seeking government employment. They made the assertion in the build-up of celebration marking the 53rd National Youth Day celebration built for Monday 11th of February. Televiewers, it is on that note we come to the end of this weekender edition of High Prime on HiTv. Do join my colleague Joyce Mbong this Saturday as from midday as she brings to you the maiden edition of High Review. High Review is a retrospect of the week's news report on HiTv plus a guest to cogitate on the salient issues for the week. Until we meet some other time, I've been your anchor for this week, Gerard Nanji Eyambe, wishing you a splendid and a convivial weekend. It's good night from Buea.